What if I told you that how men respond to you has less to do with them and everything to do with how you show up for yourself? It might sound a bit harsh, but it's the truth. Men reflect the standards you carry within, not the ones you talk about here and there, but the ones you truly live by. In this message, we're going to explore 4 quiet but powerful truths that instantly shift how men view you. But before we get into that, let's be honest. Respect doesn't begin when he replies to your texts, makes a commitment, or buys you gifts. It begins the moment you decide that you won't accept anything that doesn't match your core values. Respect isn't something you force, it's something you inspire. And here's what's often left unsaid. A woman who truly honors herself shows the world how she expects to be treated without having to say a single word. Maybe you've been in situations where you gave your all and got barely anything in return. Maybe you kept holding on, hoping one day he'd finally see your worth. But the truth is this. Men snap to attention when they meet a woman who moves with standards that aren't up for discussion. This isn't about playing games or pretending. It's about activating a side of you that's been quiet for too long. Your real feminine energy. The side of you that doesn't chase, doesn't explain herself over and over, and definitely doesn't fear walking away. Because when self-respect becomes your normal way of being, you no longer seek his. And that's when everything begins to shift. Let's go deeper. Because the version of you that's awakening will never again accept less than she deserves. Let's face the facts. One of the quickest ways women lose a man's admiration without realizing it is by constantly explaining themselves. When you're always trying to justify your decisions, your limits, your feelings, you're quietly sending the message, please don't be mad. Please see things my way. Please understand me. That energy is far from powerful. It comes from anxiety, fear of being misunderstood, fear of rejection, fear of being left behind. But here's what really matters. A woman who knows her value doesn't need to defend it. She lives it. She speaks through her actions, not through long speeches. She doesn't beg to be seen. She doesn't go above and beyond to prove her point. She doesn't lower her standards just to make someone else comfortable. And when a man notices that, it invites something different: respect. Men aren't drawn to women who try to prove themselves all the time. They're drawn to the ones who stand firm in who they are. Because that kind of confidence is rare, and rare is unforgettable. If you say something like, I'm not okay with inconsistency, and he questions you or wants an explanation, you don't need to give a long answer or soften your stance. You simply say, that's not something I allow in my life. And let that speak for itself. Every time you explain too much, you lessen your power. You move from self-assurance to seeking outside approval. And the moment a man feels your limits are flexible, he stops taking them seriously. That's why staying grounded in your truth is essential, even if it feels uneasy, even if it means he walks away. A lot of women worry they'll seem harsh or difficult, so they over-explain to avoid tension. But respect doesn't grow through ease. It grows through being real. And being real means knowing not everyone will see things your way, and being okay with that. In fact, the strength to hold your ground without needing approval is what makes you stand out. It shows that your sense of worth isn't based on his validation. Silence, when used with intention, becomes a powerful kind of influence. When you hold back from explaining every little thing, your energy becomes stronger, more centered, and more magnetic. A woman who doesn't constantly explain herself teaches others, especially men, to take her seriously. That kind of calm self-assurance is incredibly attractive. You're not on trial. You don't have to explain why you want consistency, honesty, and commitment. You just show it through how you live. The right man won't need a long talk to understand your limits. He'll sense them. And if he doesn't, you keep moving. No speech needed. So if there's one shift that changes how men respond to you, it's this. Stop justifying everything you do. You'll be amazed how quickly others rise to your level once you stop lowering it for acceptance. Most women know when something feels wrong. But instead of stepping away, they hang on. They give more. They hope. They tell themselves to wait a little longer. Maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll finally see their worth. Maybe it will all come together. But deep down, you've always felt when something wasn't right. And the walking away isn't about teaching someone a lesson. It's about protecting your peace. When a connection no longer feels balanced, safe, or emotionally rich, staying turns into neglecting yourself. And the longer you stay in something that doesn't match your values, the more your confidence begins to slip. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when your light starts to dim. That's when you forget who you are. Here's the hard truth no one likes to say. Alignment isn't about what could happen one day. It's about what's happening right now. Is he consistent? Is the energy mutual? Do his actions match his words? If not, there's your answer. You don't need more reasons. You need more trust in your inner voice. Leaving when something doesn't feel right is the highest form of self-respect. It says, I will not stay where I'm not truly valued. And that kind of energy is unforgettable. Because when a woman finally decides that her peace matters more than her fear of being alone, she becomes untouchable. She stops accepting crumbs. She stops allowing chaos. She stops making excuses for poor effort. Men respect a woman who can leave calmly, not out of bitterness, not with drama, but with quiet strength. When a man sees that you can walk away when your emotional needs aren't met, he understands instantly that you're not depending on him to feel whole. You are already whole. And that makes you rare. Some women think walking away means giving up. But it's not. Giving up is staying in something that drains you. Walking away is what happens when you finally realize that staying would mean losing parts of yourself. It's what you do when you understand that almost right is still wrong, even when you care, even when the emotions are deep, even when it hurts. The longer you stay in something that dims your soul, the more disconnected you become from the version of you that's meant to shine. Every time you step away from what doesn't serve you, you open the door for something better. For someone who truly sees you, values you, and respects you without needing to be convinced. So if something feels off, if you're lacking clarity, if your spirit feels uneasy, don't force it to work. Don't talk yourself into accepting uncertainty. Don't shrink just to stay connected. Your boundaries are not too much. Your gut feeling isn't wrong. Your voice deserves to be heard. The moment you walk away, not in anger, but in peace, is the moment your true power rises. And once you claim that deep level of self-respect, you'll never go back to settling again. One quality that instantly shifts how men treat you is emotional detachment. Not coldness, not indifference, but a quiet strength that doesn't panic over mixed signals, missed text, or confusing behavior. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't give away your calm for every temporary emotion or man who briefly shows interest. A lot of women think detachment means being hard or distant, but it's not. It's actually about being present while staying rooted in your worth. It's about being kind without losing your balance. It's staying emotionally open while refusing to become emotionally needy. And when a woman shows up from that place, everything shifts. Men can tell when a woman is emotionally unsteady, but they remember the woman who isn't moved by nonsense, who loves deeply but holds her own. You can see it in how she keeps checking for replies, and how she overthinks each message, in how she feels anxious when things seem unclear. That kind of emotional pressure doesn't make someone more attractive. It actually creates distance. Now, think about a woman who shows healthy emotional distance. She watches instead of reacting. She waits for patterns to show the truth. She doesn't demand clarity. She trusts that it will become clear in time. She doesn't rush things. She lets true compatibility do the sorting. She knows that if someone truly fits her, she won't need to beg for steady effort. And if he's not the right one, no amount of explaining will make him stay. That kind of inner peace is powerful. It sparks curiosity. It earns respect because she's not trying to perform or prove herself to be loved. She's not bending who she is to fit someone's expectations. She's not holding on to fantasy or what could be. She's steady in her self-worth, and her emotions don't rule her thinking. Here's the truth. When a man sees that you are emotionally calm, that his mixed signals don't shake you, that you don't depend on his approval to feel okay, something changes. He starts behaving differently. He sees you're not easily influenced. And if he really wants your heart, he'll show it through actions, not just charm. Emotional distance gives you space. It gives you clarity. It helps you act instead of reacting. When you're emotionally steady, you're not waiting on him to define the relationship. You're watching how he acts. You allow his behavior to speak louder than his words. And with some space, you start to see things clearly. You stop falling for smooth words. You start matching your actions to what's real. That doesn't mean you stop feeling things. You still feel joy, interest, love, hope, but you don't let those feelings cloud your judgment. You don't let attraction hide the red flags. You don't let longing keep you stuck in cycles of chasing, explaining, or hoping. When a woman learns emotional balance, she stops pushing what doesn't come naturally. She stops lowering her standards just to keep someone close. She trusts that what is meant for her will feel even, peaceful, and mutual. Everything else becomes noise. And here's the beautiful part. Emotional distance gives you the power to walk away peacefully. You don't need to get even. You don't wait for a big apology or a final fight. You can leave quietly, knowing that you kept choosing yourself. This quiet strength doesn't make you hard to love. It makes you unforgettable. Because the right man won't be scared of your self-respect. He'll be drawn to it. He'll feel safe, knowing you're already whole without him, that your feelings don't control you, and that your time is a gift, not a request. So if you've ever felt drained from giving too much, from trying too hard, from loving without balance, this is your moment to change direction. Emotional detachment doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming aware. It means knowing that your heart is valuable and not everyone deserves it just because they want it. Detached to keep your peace. Detached so you can truly know who belongs in your life. Because the moment you stop reacting to every little trigger, you begin to reclaim your power. There's a big difference between having boundaries and giving ultimatums. Understanding this changes everything about how men treat you. Ultimatums are pushy. Boundaries are calm. Ultimatums are about trying to change someone else. Boundaries are about protecting yourself. A woman who respects herself always uses boundaries, not threats. Maybe you've said or heard, if you don't commit, I'm leaving. Or if you don't change, this is over. That's an ultimatum. It usually comes from fear or needing clarity, even when deep down the truth is already known. But here's what's real. If you have to push someone to treat you right, their respect is already low. Boundaries, on the other hand, come from inner strength. They don't need dramatic talks. They don't need emotional arguments. They're kept through steady actions. A boundary sounds like, I don't accept inconsistency. And when it shows up, you walk away. Quietly, firmly, no drama needed. When a man senses you're using ultimatums, he gets defensive. He may feel pressured. But when he feels your boundaries, he respects you. Because you're not trying to make him into someone else. You're just clear about what you will and won't accept. That kind of energy is powerful, rare, and it changes everything. Most women lead with ultimatums because they're afraid. They're afraid of being hurt again, of wasting time, of not being chosen. So they try to control the situation. But that leads to more pushback than progress. When you lead with calm boundaries, you let people show you who they really are. You don't chase, you pay attention, you don't try to fix them, You stay true to yourself. And if they can't meet your values, you leave, not in anger, just with peace. And that peaceful exit, that's what leaves the strongest mark. It protects your peace. It keeps your soul intact. You're no longer fighting silent battles. You're no longer exhausting yourself trying to prove your worth. You're just living by what matters to you, and anyone who can't meet you there fades away by themselves. Men deeply respect women who stand by their boundaries, not because they're cold, but because they're certain. Most people accept mixed signals and poor treatment because they're scared to be alone. But when a man meets a woman who can walk away from anything that disturbs her peace, he sees her differently. He realizes she's not acting from fear. She's living by her values. She's not looking to be completed. She's looking for someone compatible. You don't need to be loud to be respected. You don't need ultimatums to be valued. You only need clarity on what you will allow, and then live like you mean it. So ask yourself, what have you been tolerating and calling it kindness? What have you said you'd leave but stayed in? What would happen if you replaced threats with real boundaries? You don't need to change anyone. You just need to be mindful of what you allow. Because the moment your energy says, I won't beg to belong, you free yourself. You stop running after love. You start aligning with truth. That's when the right person finally sees the real you. They feel safe, impressed, and moved by your strength. Lead with boundaries. Let your truth speak louder than your words, and let anyone who can't meet you leave on their own. Yep. No pushing, no noise. Now let's talk about what really happens when a woman lives like this. This isn't just a nice quote, it's real transformation. And the stories of women who've embraced this mindset prove it. One woman, let's call her Sarah, used to over-explain everything. She always felt she needed to defend her opinions, her silence, her feelings. When a man pulled away, she chased conversations, tried to fix things, tried to feel understood, left her feeling drained and unworthy. Everything changed when she stopped explaining and started paying attention. Instead of sending long texts to explain herself, she stayed quiet and let her actions speak. The results were immediate. The man she was dating became more attentive and reliable because she wasn't chasing anymore. She was choosing. And he could feel it. Then there's a Mamira. She stayed in a situationship for over a year. The guy kept saying he wasn't ready, but he still acted like her boyfriend. She kept hoping he'd commit. But every few weeks, he pulled away again. When she finally got clear and walked away, not with drama, just calmly and confidently, he panicked. But instead of going back, she stood firm. She said, "This doesn't feel equal anymore. I'm done picking someone who's unsure about me." That one choice changed her life. She didn't just leave him. She left behind the version of herself who begged for love. 6 months later, she met someone new, emotionally honest, open, and ready for commitment. She told me, if I hadn't let go of what was draining me, I would have never made room for something real. Then there's Lena. Her story is all about emotional detachment. She used to overthink every message that went unanswered. If a man took hours to reply, she would second-guess herself constantly, replaying every word they exchanged in her mind. She gave away her peace like it didn't matter. But once she learned to sit with her emotions without letting them take over, everything shifted. She began showing up with calm energy and a new kind of inner stillness. The men she dated began to value her more. One even told her, "There's something about your presence that makes me want to grow." That's the quiet power of emotional detachment. It doesn't force change, it gently encourages it.